Morning, boss. This week's income from the sponsors has cleared, and we're making good profit against our running costs.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 42 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But heading into Mexico, not too long on the activity timeline on the left-hand side, so just 2 days. We're going to do some reaction training for Sainz, as there's no other really one. I mean, we could do a driver promotion filming, but that won't be too much of use to us. But before the race weekend, we are going to look at another R&D upgrade. We obviously brought some upgrades last race, 2 of them actually, to USA, but it kind of made the car feel worse in a way. We upgraded the brakes and the weight redistribution, but under braking, it kind of felt almost like a sponge. Very, very odd. Some of you guys were suggesting I maybe need to look into the setups a little bit more, so we'll have a look into that, but we're going to delve into the aero side of the tree and actually upgrade the DRS main plane flap, because I felt like in situations in the race at times, we've not had that same punch in a straight line that we've had earlier on in the season, where we used to blitz people in a straight line with the ERS as well, but at times we've not really had that same straight line speed. Engine-wise, we are still one of the best teams on the grid. Aero-wise, I don't feel like our car's too draggy, so I thought that's maybe the next best place to upgrade our car. Of course, we've got a lot of pressure to try and perform in this race. Last time out, although we did limit the damage to Leclerc in the championship on the driver's side, constructors-wise, Mercedes now are 7 points within us in the constructors, and it's been large in part due to that man on the right hand side, Sainz, not pulling his weight as of late. You know, he's 94 rated, but it seems like potentially Leclerc is 100 rated in this save of ours. I'm not too sure. It doesn't show the improved ratings for us in the driver market, but I have a hunch that behind the scenes he is probably 100 rated with the kind of, you know, developments that Ferrari's made on the personal and whatnot, because he's obviously won, what is it now, you know, 5 races in the last 6 or something like that, something crazy. And so you can see Mercedes are right on our heels, and they had a very convincing 1-2 last time out. Mexico, you got the long straight, so I would like to think Ferrari will be a little bit better, and they could help us out in a way by taking points away from Mercedes, but with the upgrades the Silver Arrows have made in the last 2 episodes, they've looked a lot better than recent, previous races in the season, so we need to be careful of that. I need Sainz to perform this weekend. I need him there scoring points. He can't be floundering behind the likes of Renaults and McLarens, in the lower half of the top 10. We need him to score points, because drivers-wise, like I said, I'm fine. We've still got a decent cushion to Leclerc, but constructors, 1 race basically, and Mercedes could be in the lead, and we've only got 3 rounds to go, so it is very much crunch time in the season. But we come through now to the race weekend Mexico. We get a small durability upgrade, I think that was, on the engine side from Honda, a free upgrade from them, so that's not much of a kind of thing to note on. But R&D-wise, ourselves and Mercedes plateau. There's no upgrades for us. Red Bull do upgrade though, so that could be another span in the works. They've not really been there, for most of the last few races. Obviously, Verstappen looked very good at Japan, but Red Bull were nowhere at USA. So it'll be interesting to see where they are here at Mexico. If they're there, then it's going to be a real span in the works, having both Ferrari and Red Bull being there, but not obviously not being in the championship fight. They're just kind of fighting for those points. They're taking points away from myself, Hamilton, Bottas, and Sainz. So that will just make things a lot trickier to overturn, which in a way could work for us, obviously, because if Mercedes are scoring less points, we're scoring less points, it still means we can keep the lead we've got in the constructors. But also, I want to note, in recent races as well, Renault have looked a lot better, even McLaren as well. They've improved quite a fair bit, even though Fiat's quite low down in the championship order. They've been qualifying quite well, and their race pace at times has looked quite good. So as a team, Renault, maybe their power unit has improved quite a lot, because as I said, McLaren have also looked a little bit better in recent races. So we'll see how that goes for them, and they'll kind of, try and bunch in on the end of the top 10. But we come into qualifying then, all sunny skies this entire race weekend, it looks like. So no rain on the way, but it may be a little bit overcast on Sunday. But as I said, in terms of pace for us, it's going to be a bit of an interesting one, because Mexico is very unique. You've got this massive long main straight, but then a very technical sector 2, so you kind of need that downforce, but at the same time you don't want to compromise too much on the aero. So that's exactly where I'm trying to operate in. So I think wings wise, I've ran 4-4 on the front and rear, so trying to get that straight line speed for the race weekend. That may hinder me a bit on the heavier fuel runs, I will admit, but hopefully that will give us that edge in a straight line. And if the last few races And, if the last few races are anything to go by, our car has lost some pace relative to the other cars. So I probably suggest we would be in the mid-pack, you know, fighting for those points, you know, fighting for that P5, P4, as we have done, you know, at USA and before at Japan. But into Q2, having a look at what the drivers are doing around me, just making sure we're trying to cover off people. Leclerc, Hamilton, even, you know, both Red Bulls, all of them go on soft tyres in Q2, so there's no point trying to get through on a set of medium tyres. You've got to remember, actually, back to Season 1, this circuit is a 2-stop, actually, so it will be kind of interesting to see what the strategy's like in terms of, you know, who goes on the mediums, who puts on a set of hard tyres, and how the tyre wear is at the start of the Grand Prix. It always is quite a tricky one versus the AI. They're so good on the first stint of maintaining their tyre temps and maintaining the tyre wear compared to myself, so that's going to be quite tricky come race day. But at the moment, just trying to get through into the top 10 shootout. That first run was really not good enough, so we have to go and burn a second set of soft tyres to get through into Q3. Annoyingly, that second lap was amazing because we get up into P2, so annoyingly just couldn't do that straight off the bat. But a massive bit of news is Lewis Hamilton is knocked out at Q2. That is very, very important for this championship fight. So you've only got Bottas there, Hamilton, P13, way down the order, and we've seen quite a few times that Mercedes car has not been able to get through traffic at times this season. So that's a massive win for us. Leclerc and Ferrari look quick again. We're kind of checkerboard there. Leclerc, myself, Vettel, and then Sainz. So Ferrari look good again. Red Bull are a little bit closer to us than I guess they were in the last few races, but for the championship fight, that is amazing news for us. One big player out the way. I know Bottas was the one that won last race, but Hamilton, obviously, you can't ever, you know, count him out. The highest rated driver still on this grid, I would suggest, unless Leclerc really is 100 rated at this stage of the career. So that's massive news for us. So big win. The F1 gods looking down upon us. I don't know what happened. Maybe Hamilton hit traffic or something or other, but that's a big positive for us. So now we move through into the top 10 shootout. This is my one and only run because we burned 2 sets in Q2, unfortunately, and I didn't bother doing a worn tyre set at the start of Q3. Didn't kind of see any kind of point in it, really. So this is our one and only lap. At the moment, Sainz is there in P6. So again, kind of showing that we have lost some pace relative to the other cars. No longer are we able to easily get into the kind of top 4. But I'm hoping I can maybe break in myself here with a good enough lap time. Just kind of taking the curb a little bit liberally on the right-hand side there, knocking over the bollard. But as we come through the last corner, a lot of understeer. So I thought I maybe lost a bit too much time through that last corner. It was a very good first sector, of course, with the straight line speed we've got. And on the bottom left, we're up into that top 4, just about on the second row alongside Sebastian Vettel. But surprise, surprise, Charles Leclerc looking amazing as ever in that alien Ferrari he's driving as of late. But Verstappen, P2, not too far off. So looks like those upgrades that Red Bull have brought this weekend have genuinely worked out, at least for Verstappen, because Ricciardo's way down in P7. But at least in the hands of Verstappen, they've worked out. So like I said, it looks like it's going to be a very tasty fight between, you know, myself, the 2 Ferraris, Max at least maybe, and then I think behind us it'll be Sainz v Bottas. Hopefully if Sainz can just beat Bottas, that's going to just be, well, that's all he needs to do, really, because Hamilton, I already think he's going to have a tough time breaking into the kind of top 7. So as long as Sainz does a job finally, pulls his, you know, finger out of his arse basically, and actually gets the job done on Bottas early on in the race, and I can just try and do the best job I can at trying to fight, I would say Verstappen. I was going to say Leclerc, but honestly, from pole, I wouldn't be surprised if Leclerc just dominates this Grand Prix, as he has done quite a fair few times with that alien-like pace Ferrari have shown in the last few episodes. But that is a decent showing for us, a bit better than last time, obviously, at USA, where both of us were down the order on the grid. So let's go to Sunday and see how we do in the race.
Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from 3rd on the grid. And what are the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday puts him on pole, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, the owner-driver, Valtteri Bottas, and Sainz, Ricciardo, Albon, Norris, and Sergio Perez, Matsushita, Hamilton, Esteban Ocon, and Stroll, Kvyat, Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Kevin Magnussen, Grosjean, Gasly, Aitken, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Right, so like I said, overcast conditions on Sunday, but no rain forecast. Strategy-wise, will be a 2-stop from soft tyres to set of mediums. Fuel-wise, our engineers actually filled up quite a fair bit on the default there, so we're going to be a little bit cautious and have 1 lap extra of fuel. Obviously going to hopefully need some on the main straight. Tyre wear is going to be a big factor on the first stint, and then on the mediums, even last season, we didn't have too much of an issue, actually, with the yellow wall tyres, so I think that should be fine. Like I said, really, it's going to be on us trying to attack Verstappen and maybe Leclerc, but I think he's going to kind of pull away from us. But the big thing will be looking behind us at what Sainz can do versus Bottas, and then keeping a little eye on what Hamilton can do. Remember, he's down the order, I think P13 or 12 on the grid due to someone with a grid penalty. So from P12, can he come back in the points? That's going to be a crucial thing to look at, because ultimately, I care about obviously Ferrari and Red Bull, but really I'm looking at the constructors versus Mercedes. That's the big fight here today. So we've got to play it smart and just try and get as many points as we can on Mercedes to give us a good cushion going to what will be a difficult Brazilian Grand Prix and Abu Dhabi as well at the finale. But let's get into this then from the second row of the grid alongside Sebastian Vettel. So here we go to 5 red lights to the Mexican Grand Prix. 3 rounds to go in this season. It is crunch time and lights are out and we're underway, and it's a great start compared to Vettel and Verstappen, who really bogs down. But in the second phase, it's a long run to turn 1. Vettel gets alongside Verstappen. Can we try and get a toe off the Dutchman, get to the inside? There's a bit of a pocket of air to work with. It's very, very close between those two, but we managed to carve our way through, and we're up into P2. Verstappen, the exit, has a bit of contact with Vettel, and there's a massive gap now, so we're in a world of our own, chasing after Leclerc. So it's Leclerc, myself, like I said then, I think it's Max just ahead of Vettel, and I think Vettel's actually got P3, fair enough, after he got pushed wide there. So yeah, it's a Ferrari 1-3, Verstappen then ahead of Ricciardo, and I think it's then still Bottas ahead of Sainz, but I'm hoping eventually, as we get on through this race, Sainz can do something to attack Bottas, because that's pretty much the only thing he needs to do. I've already, I've covered off Hamilton because he's way down the order, so I'm just trying my best now to get a good race result for the team and trying to limit the damage against Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship. As we move through now to lap number 3, yellow flags behind us, and I think someone has got an issue in this race, and it's going to be Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri Bottas is coming to a crawl on the outside of the last corner, and he's out of the Mexican Grand Prix. This is huge, huge news for us. That's a calamity for Mercedes. 1 car out, 1 car outside the top 10. It's like Japan all over again. They had 1 disaster, came back with a 1-2 at USA, and it's another disaster for them this weekend. This is amazing. So for us, it's all calm now. I've got no pressure in the cockpit. Sainz has done his job now. He's ahead of Bottas. He's ahead of Hamilton. We've just got to go out there and see what we can do really in this race. And pace-wise, we may not have the speed mid-corner in Sector 2, but in a straight line, this car is rapid with those lower wings I talked about that I put down in qualifying on this setup. And it means, although I'm compromised on the heavier fuel, we are very quick in a straight line, and we're looking to maybe try and even catch Leclerc for the race lead here. It may look like we're quite far back, but we keep on pace with overtake mode. DRS wide open, and we go for a move on the outside, so close to the rear left there of the Ferrari man. Easy does it. Give him the room. Little bit of a squirm on the rear end as we get on the curb, but we're up into first place on the outside of that first section of the circuit. Wonderful stuff there, and mega pace in a straight line. We were so far back from Leclerc, and we got it. Although I will say, like I said, we have compromised our cornering to get that speed, and so immediately on lap number 6, Leclerc looks to overtake us again in Sector 2. He's got so much better grip through those S-section corners, but I'm going to try and let him through on purpose here. You can see, actually, I went wide at the hairpin because I want to let him through, because is I'd rather get the DRS than slipstream off him. So very old, wily old fox kind of move here to try and get the DRS back, but it's just because it works so well. It's so powerful, coupled with the ERS deployment. So there we go, rear flap open again, rich mix going. We don't even use overtake mode this time, all the way down the straight like we did last time out, and we're back up into first place of the Mexican GP. Leclerc down to second, Vettel third, Verstappen fourth, Ricciardo fifth, and then Sainz, I assume, is in P6. And at this stage, I still think, looking at the minimap, it's hard to tell right now because it's actually off our screen, but when I have kind of glanced it, Hamilton looks like he's outside the top 10 still by lap 7 here. We've got a fair few laps in this Grand Prix. He's still not made that progress he crucially needs to help his team, get any sort of damage limitation going for this race. Because obviously they've got one less guy, as now Sainz is up the order, up into P5. And I think Ricciardo has an issue. I don't know, there was yellow flags there for some reason, but look how slow we are. So much understeer in Sector 2. Leclerc gets a good run. We're using ERS as much as we can to just keep ahead of him this time into the stadium, but we've made a massive mistake on the lock-up there. And oh no, the rear end stepped out. Oh my words. We've half spun it and we just slammed Sebastian Vettel into the wall. I don't think he's not out, actually. He's actually somehow still in this race then. But the man who's retiring out of Formula 1 this season, really not sending him off in a good sending off party. They're slamming him into the wall as we made a massive mistake on the right-hander. We locked up, we went wide. That was one mistake on its own. But then I got on the curb, I think it was. The rear end stepped out, and I was just a passenger at that point, spewing towards the right-hand side, taking Vettel with me. His front wing came off. I'm surprised his tyre didn't get sheared off. And then I'm even more surprised our front wing didn't break there. So he must have missed it by an absolute inch. And also, the FI haven't said anything. I've got no, indication that I've got a penalty or Vettel has. So the FI just think that was a racing incident, which obviously is good news for me. I don't know. It was just a mistake by me. Vettel was just unfortunate to be collected by it. So I would tend to agree that was a racing mistake. As bad as it looked, it was genuinely just a mistake by me. I didn't have no ill intention with that spewing off on the right. But now we're down in P17, medium tyres on. No front wing change though. So technically we've not lost too much there pitting that lap. But now can we try and overtake Latifi or Grosjean as we're now hits again by Magnus? What is happening in this race? Lap 7 to 8, so much drama has happened in this Grand Prix. It's just all going over a boiling point here as we now try and go around the outside of the Dane. A little bit wide there off circuit, but we get the job done. FI don't see anything wrong with that. Thankfully, we're up into P17 once more. But I don't know what that was. That was very, very odd. Magnus came from so far back to just try and, I don't know, lunge me. And we tried the same thing, to be fair, here with Grosjean as we get caught unsighted, as we have so much closing speed compared to the Frenchman and the Haas there. So we have to take avoiding action. So very sloppy last two laps. Kind of goes with the theme of the last few episodes, being very, very sloppy at times in the races. I don't know, a combination of the car being very edgy on a knife edge, I feel, in terms of grip, and then also just maybe the pressure of these races getting to me a little bit psychologically. But as we get past Grosjean easily, we're going to make a dive also on Latifi as well on the inside. Easy does it, going to give him the room, but we're going to go sailing round on the outside, get to the inside for the next right-hander, up into P15. But you can see ahead of us, Sainz has overtaken us. We were actually still ahead of Sainz before the pit stop. We were actually still ahead of Sainz, even with the contact we made with Vettel. So this time we've lost to him is only just through that half spin with Magnussen, basically, and they're kind of getting caught up behind Grosjean and Latifi's fight. So we should be able to close back up to him, but really unfortunate we've actually lost that position, because we wouldn't have if it wasn't for Magnussen. But here we are then, looking back. Let's cast our minds back to lap number 7. There is the mistake there, and it's a massive impact. Really big contact with the wall there for Vettel. I'm so shocked he's not out the Grand Prix. Kind of happy he's not, because obviously I didn't mean it. If this was real life, I'd go and apologise to him post-race, because I really didn't mean it. It was just unfortunate that he got caught up there. Wrong place, wrong time, basically, for him. But this was the replay on board from Leclerc. He pressurizes me into a mistake here with a lock-up, but then I make another mistake getting on the curb, rear-end steps, and I'm just a passenger at that point, spewing off on the right, and Vettel was just there. If he just was a little bit further back, he wouldn't have got caught up with that. So, yeah, massive apologies to him. Thankfully, he's still in the race then and can go on about his business. But, yeah, just another unfortunate racing incident, again, with Leclerc, as it was in USA. But this is now the second incident with Magnussen, and this one's just a bit stupid for me. I don't know what K-Mag's doing. Yes, I leave the door open a little bit, but that's because I'm trying to tighten up my line to get the undercut line on Grosjean and Latifi, and Magnussen just spews in there, very much like Lucas Weber's AI used to on last year's game. It just wasn't needed. Thankfully, I didn't, completely spin out, but we pretty much got T-boned by him at that part of the circuit. So, some making up to do. We have to try and re-overtake now our teammate, and then, of course, I did lose positions to Verstappen and Leclerc, of course. So, they're now 1-2, effectively, in this race, once everyone makes their pit stops. And it's going to be a bit of an uphill climb to catch back up to them, I can't lie. The only saving grace is, obviously, Bottas is out. Hamilton is still yet to clear cars for that top 10 position. So if I was going to have an incident like this in any race, it probably would have been this. It would have been, no, thankfully it's this one where Mercedes are already out the equation, basically. You see now here, we've got our head down and we're catching back up to Sainz now. Lap 13, we're in P6, he's P5. Giovinazzi's still yet to make a pit stop in this Grand Prix up ahead of us, but it's an easy move on Sainz there in a straight line. Obviously at this point in the season, hopefully he would know that I'm the main man in the championship, obviously leading the way. He's just got to try and match me and just be there behind me. Hopefully he can try and hold off Vettel, who's only 6 seconds back, and obviously we know the pace of the Ferrari car, so I wouldn't be surprised if Vettel was going to come and attack Sainz by the end of this Grand Prix. Long way to go still in this one. We're only a third of the way through, but we're now getting stuck behind Giovinazzi a little bit. We've got Stroll ahead of him, who's also yet to pit, and then it's Verstappen and Leclerc, so you can see they're miles ahead already in this race, and we're really not being helped out by Giovinazzi here. Obviously a little bit of a secret agent for Ferrari maybe, but he's very slow in this sector, but even I can't get past because it's such a tight section. But now can we try and power past him with ERS there, try and squeeze him on the right, tighten up his corner on the outside. He hits the curb, it's very awkward, and we just about get the job done, but it's we've lost a good at least a second there in sector 2 trying to overtake him, but eventually we're up into P4. But like I said, up ahead of a Stroll yet to come in. He's coming in now, so we are going to be back up into P3, but this is pretty much now where we are. We're 8 seconds away from Verstappen. Leclerc 11 seconds. It's going to be very tough to close that unless there's a safety car or virtual safety car. But this man, I said he would dominate. Unfortunately, it's my own downfall that he's going to be dominating because we were right there with him. But now he's just got too much on us. So he's leading the way. Verstappen, to be fair, is keeping him honest by about a second or so. So let's see if Verstappen can maybe battle the Ferrari for first place. Then it's myself. Giovinazzi's still ahead of Sainz to this stage because this is only one lap later. But then Vettel ahead of the McLaren and then Ricciardo's Red Bull. But you saw there, Hamilton, nowhere to be seen. Still outside the top 10, I think. Actually, no word of a lie. So, very, very unfortunate. But now, also, very unfortunate for Verstappen, as he's got an issue. Big calamity for Red Bull. And Verstappen from second place parks it up. So we get even more luck in this Grand Prix. I almost feel kind of bad that we're getting this much good luck here. Because, obviously, we made that really bad mistake. But it's really not cost us that much. It cost us maybe the chance of going for the win, but we're now up into second place, Sainz third, Vettel fourth. Brilliant stuff there. So we move on now a little bit later into this stint, close to the pit stop, that second pit stop window. Leclerc leads the way from myself, Sainz, Vettel. Then you've got Ricciardo. Then it's a nice little checkerboard of Renault and McLaren. Matsushita, this is, leading the way in this train ahead of Ocon in the McLaren, I think it is, and then Kvyat in the other Renault. And they're all ahead of, you can see, one Lewis Hamilton, who is now finally in the points-paying position. But he's behind 3 Renault-powered cars, and he's not looking like he's making an overtake anytime soon. So like I said, Renault have really made some big updates to their engines, it would seem, for not only their works team, but McLaren as well. But, that classic case of Mercedes unable to, make overtakes in traffic, or in general, also we've seen, unfortunately, sometimes the AI can just, in general, get stuck in traffic. And so, we're still looking very good. Leclerc comes in lap 22. Our pit stop window opens, but that's Leclerc. He's made his pit stop, and he's ahead of Sainz, which is, frankly, a little bit embarrassing, to be honest, for all of us. Leclerc is actually closing up to me as I make my pit stop, so he's effectively a whole pit stop ahead of me. He could do a 3-stop if he wanted to, and he'd be fine in this race. So it is a bit of a dismal day for everyone concerned, basically. I'm actually adamant that even though it didn't show it on the driver market on the menu, I agree with you guys. I'm pretty sure Leclerc is 100 rated in that Ferrari car. He must be, surely. He's an absolute animal. I know Vettel's also won one race out of the ones they've won, but Leclerc's won the remaining, 5 or 4 or whatever it is, so he's just on a different planet, so he must be 100 rated, and that's why I say potentially, that it could be a way to go, if we could lure him away from Ferrari and sign him to our team. Could you imagine trying to go up against this 100 rated Leclerc? I mean, it would be insane. It would be like a Rosberg v Hamilton sort of situation next season. So it could be quite tasty if we could maybe get him. It's one way to go about it. There are obviously other options like Hamilton, Verstappen maybe, We'll leave that to the end of the season, of course. Right now, we're focused on this Mexican Grand Prix. We overtake Giovinazzi. We're back up into P2. Leclerc is a good 19 seconds ahead of me. So I've got nothing left to do really in this Grand Prix apart from going for the fast lap of the Grand Prix because we've still got pace in this car. It's still a really, very good race car. Lower wings. We're good in the first sector. You can see purple first sector. Green in the second because we're not as good as Ferrari. But the last sector, hopefully if I don't muck this up too much in the last few corners, we run out of ERS just through the last bend, but we are going to get a good exit, rich mix going, and across the line, and we will get the fast lap of the Grand Prix in this race. So remember, that's 1 extra point, championship point, and that could make all the difference. You never know, because it's the F1 game, and it has always sometimes gone down to the wire by a few mere points, but Leclerc will go and win the Mexican Grand Prix. This man has just been on absolute fire. You've just got to commend it, really, but for us, we could have fought him for first place. We made a bad mistake. We've come through somehow still for second place. In the end, Vettel did get Sainz for P3, so just showing the Ferrari car in general as well is quite good. It's not just Leclerc. Vettel gets P3, so it's a checkerboard for Ferrari and aarava Archer Racing there. But the big story is that Mercedes once again have a calamity. Bottas no points, Hamilton down the order.
The thin air here in Mexico City makes this event a brutal one for these Formula One cars. But this team have done a fantastic job to make it to the checkered flag and take a well-earned victory. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So there's that familiar sight then, seeing Leclerc in red holding up first place trophy there. He's won another Grand Prix. I've lost track of how many races he's actually won. I think he's won 5 in 6, I think, and Ferrari have won 6 of the last 7 races. I think that's the tally. I can't quite remember, to be honest, because that's how many he's won in the last few episodes. It's been ridiculous. But we come home in second, so we only lose 6 points to him in the championship. So drivers-wise, we're still looking really good in the championship. 19 points ahead of Leclerc. If we play our cards right, if it goes our way, I doubt it will at Brazil. Seeing the performances of our car lately, I don't think we'll be able to fight for the win, maybe at Brazil, but you never know. If we could seal the championship next episode in the drivers, and we could also seal it in the constructors, because Mercedes, after that horrendous race, they're 32 points back. So I think it's ironically blessed 40 #blessed44. If we get to 44 points, that is how many points Mercedes need to outscore us by at Abu Dhabi. So if we were to get enough points to get just 1 point over that, we could seal the constructors next race as well, 1 race early, which would be kind of mad considering how much bad luck and how many incidents we've been in the last few episodes and how crazy the last few have been with Ferrari being so good. It's kind of mad to say that we've still somehow come on top and are in this very decent position. It's kind of a testament to how consistent we've been, even though we've had all these mistakes. We've still been consistent, still brought home the bacon basically at the end of these races. But yeah, a really crucial Mexican Grand Prix for us. Very one that was packed with drama, with that lap number 7 on to 8 with Vettel and Magnussen as well. But even more so with Bottas out, Hamilton having a very poor qualifying. Like literally, it's been all over the shop. There's been drama everywhere. Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, it's just been great. It's been a really, really great run into the end of the season. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. And if you did enjoy this episode, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.